Working capital. Working capital management. Battery. Working capital management. Recording. Did it stop? Working capital management. Now, the topic that we've just completed, capital budgeting decisions or capital investment decisions, is closely related to working capital management. Just to remind you, the finance manager makes 4 key decisions in a company. One is financing decision. Number 2 is capital budgeting decision. Number 3, working capital management decisions. There is dividend policy decisions. So in our previous topic, we been studying investment in long-term projects. Investment in long-term projects. That is capital budgeting. Okay? Capital investment decisions. Those are decisions that are made by the finance manager. It's a function of financial management. But there's another decision that the finance management makes, which is liquidity decision or working capital management. So in this topic, we will be studying the following subtopics. 1 is introduction and concepts of working capital. Number 2, working capital versus working capital management. Number 3, factors influencing working capital requirements of a firm. 4, types of working capital. 5, importance and objectives of working capital management. 6, working capital operating cycle. 7, working capital financing policies. 8, determining the finance mix. 9, management of inventory. 10, cash management. 11, management of cash receivables and accounts payables. These are 11 subtopics. So let's dive in. Working capital management. So we have working capital, then we have working capital management. So let's define what is working capital. Now, working capital is the current assets of a company minus its current liabilities. If you are asked and you want to define it in few words, working capital is equal to current assets minus current liabilities. That gives you the meaning. This is the meaning. Working capital is equal to current liabilities minus, current assets minus current liabilities. It represents the amount of money that a company has available to meet its short-term obligations. Short-term obligations, candidates, are things like buying raw materials, paying salaries, buying newspapers, airtime, tea. Short-term. The offices where people have to take tea or even lunch. The money that is used to pay for such expenses is what we are referring to as working capital. It is the investment in current assets. It is the money that a company needs to meet its short-term obligations. That's working capital. Then you have working capital management. Working capital management can also be rewritten as management of working capital. So working capital management is the management of a company's short-term assets and liabilities. It is the management of these assets and liabilities, short-term assets and short-term liabilities, the management. And it involves ensuring that the company has enough cash to meet its day-to-day obligations or operating expenses, while also maximizing its return on investment. Is that clear? We are defining terms. The syllabus says introduction and concepts of working capital. So the first concept here is working capital. Then you have working capital management. Now let's break it down. What are the components of working capital management? Components. And the components are just in that syllabus. Components of working capital management. Did you hear me read something to do with the cash management? That is a subtopic number 10, cash management. Then number 11, we have 9, you have management of inventory. 10, you have management of accounts receivable. So the first component of working capital management is cash management. Cash management is a management of cash. Cash management involves managing the company's cash flows, cash inflows, managing the company's cash inflows and cash outflows to ensure that it has enough cash on hand to meet its obligations. Inventory management. Inventory, also known as stock, is an element of working capital management. And it involves managing the company's inventory levels to ensure that it has enough stock to meet demand without tying up too much capital in inventory. So in managing inventories, a company ensures that it does not hold onto inventories that are not required, because that then ties up capital in inventories. Or in managing inventories, the company has to ensure that there are no shortages of inventories. So there has to be that management. It has to be done deliberately so that there are no shortages and there are no excess inventories. Management. That requires management. That's why in your management accounting, we have things like economic, order quantity, and so on. Three, accounts receivable management. Management of debtors, management of accounts receivable is a component of working capital management. And that involves managing the company's debtors to ensure that customers pay invoices on time. And we'll be getting into details later on, candidates, what entails accounts receivable. When you manage debtors, you ensure that they pay in time, you ensure that there are no bad debts that are written off, you ensure that the policy on debtors are adhered to, and so on. Accounts receivable management. Number 4, we have accounts payable management. Accounts payable management is a component of working capital management, and it involves managing the company's creditors, accounts payables, to ensure that the company pays suppliers on time and takes advantage of any discounts offered for early payment. So these are 4 components of working capital management, and we shall be discussing more about these components.